YouTube crew, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to be talking about what are the best perks to run in Warzone Pacific Season 1 given the recent map change and given the recent changes to lethals and tacticals. So let's not waste any more time, let's get into it. So before we jump into perk 1 here, I actually want to run a poll down in the comments below. I'm very curious about this. Are you running Caldera or are you running Rebirth? Are you back on the island? Again, let me know down in the comments below. I'm very curious to see what the results are. And today's video does apply to both Caldera players and Rebirth Island players. Now for perk 1, we really have three options to choose from. The first is double time, the second is EOD, and the third is cold-blooded. Now, I don't think double time is at all worth it. It doubles the duration of your tactical sprint, but you still have to slide cancel to reset that tac sprint. So all double time does is basically means you don't have to slide cancel as often, which in my opinion is just not worth it compared to the other two. Now, we have EOD, which is take reduced damage from non-kill streak explosives. Huge advantage given the recent buff to lethals, to our Semtex, Frag Grenade, Molotov, Proximity Mine, and Claymore. EOD is a huge benefit. And we also have Cold-Blooded. Biggest thing with Cold-Blooded is it does not trigger High Alert and negates Combat Scout. Huge advantage here, especially on Caldera. We have a lot of people running High Alert. We have a lot of people running Combat Scout. So this is a huge advantage on Caldera, especially given the open map. And we'll talk about the perks and the advantages of Combat Scout in a little bit, and you'll really see how Cold-Blood is a huge advantage. So in terms of perk 1, either Cold-Blooded or EOD, my Rebirth players, I don't think your Cold-Blooded is going to be worth it here, so I would run EOD. And in terms of my Caldera players, I would highly suggest running Cold-Blooded, given the open map and given the fact that it doesn't trigger the High Alert warning and the Combat Scout. For perk 2, we have a lot of different options and a lot of different scenarios that we have to think about in order to effectively choose a perk 2. We really have 5 options here. We have Restock, Tempered, Overkill, High Alert, and Ghost. Now, this one gets a little bit more complicated in terms of Caldera versus Rebirth. So I'm going to split this into 2 sections. I'm going to jump into Caldera. Rebirth players, I want you to go ahead and fast forward a little bit. I have a bookmark for you down below to the Rebirth section. Now, for my Caldera players, the tough part about this is you may not be able to get 2 loadouts. So the first question is, what is your floor loot? If you have really good floor loot and you feel comfortable that you can use one of those 2 guns as a primary or secondary, along with another gun that you choose, then you can go something besides Overkill. What a lot of people are running one of 2 things: High Alert or Ghost. Now, Ghost keeps you off radar, which is a great thing. It's always been a great thing in Warzone. But High Alert is a huge benefit in terms of the big map because you never know when somebody's looking at you. You may be caught a little bit out in the open, and that High Alert flash, the yellow screen thing, pings and tells you that somebody's actually looking at you. So High Alert is a great option. Now, you also may not be able to get a second loadout, and you may have to run Overkill if you don't have good enough floor loot. So just keep that in mind. If that's the case, just work on your cash flow. Focus on trying to get enough cash to buy a second loadout. Tempered is a great option if you're playing hyper aggressive. Allows you to only use 2 plates instead of 3. Allows you to kind of move quickly. But I think in terms of the big map, you want to be running a High Alert or Ghost. Probably not running Restock. There's munitions boxes everywhere on Caldera, so use the munitions boxes kind of as your Restock instead. Basically, with that second loadout, you want to be running High Alert or Ghost. So for my Rebirth players, the first thing that I want to address is you should not be hitting 2 loadouts in one lifetime. And what I mean by that is you don't want to buy a loadout, grab your guns, grab your perks, and then go hit the free loadout as well. You want to keep that free loadout just in case you die, which in Rebirth is pretty inevitable. So when you die, you want to be able to have a loadout that you can drop on, grab your guns, and still grab your perks. Now for perk 2, we kind of have 3 situations that we need to talk about. The first is if you have great floor loot, which is very rare these days, but if you have great floor loot, you can run either Restock or Tempered. Don't run High Alert, don't run Ghost on Rebirth. You don't want to run Ghost, you don't need to do it, and you don't want to run High Alert. It's not really that much of a game changer on Rebirth Island because it's such a small map and because there's so many buildings. So don't worry about High Alert, don't worry about Ghost in my opinion. You can run Restock if you're running Flash Grenades, Stun Grenades, or Stims, which are super popular this season. I am doing a Lethals and Tacticals video in probably this week, so make sure you are subscribed down below so that you don't miss that. You can run Restock if you are running one of those 3. The other one that I am running that I think is the best one to run is Tempered. This is going to allow you to play aggressive. It's going to allow you to replay quicker. You only have to put 2 plates in as opposed to 3. Allows you to get back into fights sooner. So if you have great floor loot, I would personally suggest running Tempered. Now, if you don't have great floor loot, you can go ahead and grab Overkill here. Grab your 2 primary guns, and you're good to go. That one's very easy. The third situation is a little bit later game if you die, but you can fly back in on your loadout guns, right? So you die somewhere, you decide to fly back in, you grab your loadout guns, so you have everything you need in terms of your guns, you have your lethal, you have your tactical as well, but you don't have perks. So now what do? Now we go back to that first scenario as well. This is where I would grab Tempered instead. So now all of a sudden I have my loadout guns, I have my lethals and tacticals again, and now I have Tempered. Now I'm in a really good spot. It's almost like grabbing 2 loadouts. So those are kind of the 3 scenarios. Those are kind of the 3 options for your Perk 2, Restock, Tempered, or Overkill. Tempered and Overkill is what I would really highly suggest that you run here. So before we jump into Perk 3 here, if you're looking to get better at Warzone, or if you have found this video at all helpful, take a few seconds, make sure you are subscribed with that notification bell turned on down below. I took my KD from a 0.7 to over a 4 KD, and every day I do videos, whether it's tip videos, loadout videos, gameplay breakdowns, just trying to help you get better at Warzone, trying to allow you to get more kills and get more wins. Now for Perk 3, the most important thing that we need to address is that AMP does not work with Vanguard guns. When you are using Vanguard guns, your weapon swap is not faster. So if you are using a Vanguard loadout, you do not want to run AMPed. If you're using Modern Warfare or Cold War guns, which, guys, can we move on? Like, can we use Vanguard guns instead? But if you are using Modern Warfare or Cold War guns, go ahead and keep using AMPed, or you actually can use AMPed if you want to. Now, the other 2 options we have are Combat Scout and Tracker. Now, for my Caldera players, Combat Scout 100%. 100%. It's going to give you the highlight. It's going to give you the ping, which on Caldera, on the big map, is a huge advantage, especially because people are out in the open. But the other dynamic is you have people in bushes and you have people in buildings, and you can wall bang those buildings. You can shoot through those walls. So the highlighting of the person, the quote-unquote wall hack, and the live ping are huge advantages on Caldera. In terms of Rebirth, I think Combat Scout is still the way to go. That live ping is a huge advantage in those close quarters when people try to rechow you. They can't rechow you if you know the rechow is coming. So that live ping is a huge advantage on Rebirth as well. On Rebirth, you can run Tracker if you want to, so you can get the footsteps and kind of follow them. But again, I think Combat Scout is easily the way to go if you are running Vanguard guns. If you're running Cold War or Modern Warfare, you can run AMPed as well. But overall, Perk 3, I think Combat Scout. So use this to your advantage. Start to figure out what perks are best for you. Let's just do a quick recap here. We got EOD or Cold-Blooded. We have Restock, Tempered, Overkill, High Alert, or Ghost, depending on what game mode you're running. And then for Perk 3, we have Combat Scout. I hope you found today's video helpful. Subscribe down below. Let's get better today, and I will see you tomorrow.